What do you think is the most pressing issue tech is facing but doesn't get much media attention? Brain rottification of social media, perhaps?
There's a decent amount of attention on that. That is probably the biggest single problem.
Nope.
But
Nope. I'm going to say the biggest single problem is perverse incentives.
Okay. So he just went one step down. He went to the root.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they asked what the
It's
biggest
a good
problem.
move. It's a good move. But it's arguable that that's the biggest problem with like everything.
Yes. So
I love it. Yes.
perverse incentives, they're a huge problem. I mean, we talk about it from like a management perspective often, like creating KPIs for people that incentivize completely the wrong behaviors that are destructive to themselves, their department, the entire company, that just like can seem well-intentioned at the time. Like you could create an incentive for someone to, I don't know, reply to the most emails. Right? Or, you know what, a great example, Linus Torvalds called out, a super, visionary tech leader for valuing lines of code.
Oh, man. There was a lot of points in that video. I watched the whole thing. There was a lot of points in that video where
Is he
I felt
based or what?
very validated about different stances. That was very much one of them.
Yeah. Well, I specifically brought that up on your behalf.
You were like, there's a particular member, and I was like, yeah. It was great.
And by creating, theoretically, right, like on the very, very, very top crust of the Earth surface, crust is very thin relative to the depth of the Earth. Okay, that seems like it could be a good idea.
You tell this man has kids.
You want your developers to like code a lot, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Passes the initial.
Person should be doing work. What is work? Typey. I want lots of typey.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the amount of thinking that
But
happens.
if you were to think about it for longer than about 4 seconds, you might think, oh, wait, quantity is probably not the most beneficial thing to this person's
maybe
career
an extremely
development.
valuable one of the keys that they could typey is backspace or delete.
Yeah, who knows? And so if you think about it, you're creating an incentive for potentially slapdash, shoddy, inefficient work. And so perverse incentives exist everywhere. And, right now, I think that in gaming, for instance, gamers have created a reward system for developers that rewards forever live service, gacha, embedded ads, expensive loot boxes,
pay to win,
roster packs, pay to win, and it is human nature to get a reward and repeat that behavior. And the only difference now is that we're doing it on an industrial scale. I think that the business funding machine has created perverse incentives to target infinite exponential growth because that's where they get their reward from. And that's where we get bizarre behavior like buying all of the memory in the world for an entire year. Pretty much no matter, we were talking a lot about piracy earlier in the show. I think that in some cases, pirating online media, we can create perverse incentives for ever more intrusive advertising and paywalls and monetization structures because people expect to be paid for their work, which is wild, crazy, right? But I think if people had continued to not become immune to banner ads or block them, we might not have ended up with "say something." Remember that? Do you remember that audio clip? Because I will never forget it. What?
Man, what is that?
I don't even remember what it was for.
Deeply ingrained in my brain, but I don't remember what it's for or from.
Say something in what?
Yeah, but I know it's like a thing that I've heard.
It was a banner ad for something. I don't remember what it was, but it was an audio banner ad. Yeah. And it was the most obnoxious one. I would oh my God, my speakers are on.
Sometimes, yeah. And sometimes you'd have to like find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this. Yeah. I just, ugh.
And, yeah, so and it's one of those things where, like, on the subject of ad block, right? I never said don't do it. I've even showed people how to do it. But what I did say was, consider the outcomes. Every action we take has consequences. And if you want quality media that you enjoy, if you want, quality writing that you like to read, then you may consider that those things need financial support to exist. Or you may not. But then just, when we're in the dystopian AI slop future, just, understand that we all, me, him, even him, we all had a part to play in this outcome. And this is really, really important. Okay, so put down your keyboards. One moment, please. This is really, really important. We might have ended up there anyway. We might have ended up with the intrusive ads. We might have ended up with AI slop, all the things, and human jobs being cut. We might have ended up there anyway, because corporate greed truly knows no limits. But we might not have, and we'll never know now.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I think it's somewhat true, but also if the incentives are the opposite, where like if you don't support things that do that, the corporate greed will follow where the incentives are. Corporate greed is a guarantee.
Yeah. But if we provided incentives to build high quality products, for instance, then the corporate greed would follow that.
Yeah.
But we provide incentives to build disposable, the cheapest possible thing. And, that's why, oh boy, that's why North American manufacturing was offshored.
I find it funny that you moved away from the mic as if you're trying to like dodge offshored.
Something like, yeah. I mean, if I can talk at them that way, then maybe they can yell at me through it.
You can make speakers be microphones. Can you make microphones be speakers?
Yes.
Can you?
I think so.
It feels like probably.
I think if you did it hard enough, probably. I don't know that they'd be loud, but you could,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are saying yes, you can. Yeah, all right. So then it could happen. We'll ruin the mic. I don't think they're concerned about that.
Yeah. So this is one of those things that it's like we have no further to look than, in the mirror. And I'm a participant every single time that I go to the dollar store to buy a barbecue scraper rather than buy one from Smarter every day.
There is, I think I've pointed this video out maybe a couple times on WAN Show, but there is a video by Speed.
Like iShow Speed?
No, this comes up every time. Barbecue scraper man.
Yep. I love that that's like in some circles what he's known for now.
Really?
Yeah.
That is pretty interesting.
Yeah, right?
Can I find this video? He did a video on like buying they don't make them how they used to. Is that true? And it's actually very interesting if I can even find it, which so far I can't.
Speaking of perverse incentives, YouTube titling and thumbnails. We wouldn't do it if
I didn't even
work.
try to search for this because, I'm not like, oh, this guy does clickbait. It's just it's a standard on the platform now, right? You like basically have to. Man, where is it though? I don't think it's that.
Oni Haikij says all incentives are perverse and degrade moral integrity. When you make a decision based on only benefits, you're not exercising your moral willpower and it will atrophy over time. The starting point of any decision should be your own moral framework, which is cool in theory. It's great in theory.
Welcome to companies.
And the second that you have 100 mouths to feed, and you make...
It's not even just that. The standard state for companies is corporate greed. That's how companies work. It's honestly, at a certain level, how they sort of have to.
Sort of. I mean, you don't even have to start there, which is why I started with the second you have 100 mouths to feed, and pivoting your company in some way will be the difference between a Christmas bonus and mass layoffs, then I will ask, I'll turn the question around on you and I'll ask which was the moral choice. because the railroad tracks were your own personal integrity, or all of your employees lined up, tied down on the railroad track. Which switch do you pull?
Things get
it's
tough,
not
but
that
then-
simple.
But then there are also some layoffs that are super simple. Where it's like, I don't know, stock dollar number go up if fire large number of people, and then I get new boat.
Yeah.
I choose boat.
I would say that's a super perverse incentive.
Yeah.
Amaria says, Linus taking gambling ads next year, confirmed. No, we are very far from that point. I do think that's an interesting line, though. I mean, it's one of those things that
I found it.
Okay, Luke, hold on before you click that.
Yes.
If Colton came to us and said, "Hey, basically, the industry is getting hit super hard. There's no advertising coming in from tech companies because they can't sell anything anyway because literally." Like they can't get enough RAM to sell computers that have RAM in them.
Hot take. I think that's actually a really good decision for them to do. But anyways,
basically our revenue is going to be down by 30%. We will have to let go of, we have some buffer. We're not an irresponsibly run company. And we have done it before, and to an extent, we'll do it again, where we'll cut profits in order to maintain headcount. But we're going to lose 10% of our people. We're going to lose 10%. I have a solution. We're going to work with DraftKings or whatever, and they'll basically pay us a guaranteed amount over the course of the year. Would you rather cut 10% of your teams, or would you rather take a gambling sponsorship? And to be clear, I'm not saying. You can tell he's agitated because his chair's shaking. He's doing the leg thing.
It's a constant state, but it ramps up when I'm agitated. That's for sure.
Yeah, and this is all easy for people to say. It's all easy for people to take a stance on until it's someone they know personally, right?
Yeah. Good people.
Good people.
Because the reason why I'm saying good people is this is not one. This is due to global market factors. This scenario you're laying out is that it's not because of anyone's individual failure.
No.
We just have to cut heads.
Yep. And I mean, look, this is a hard truth. The head that we cut won't be mine. I can absorb some of it, but it's not going to be like, oh, let's just not have Linus anymore and let's keep everyone else. That's not happening.
I do think there's that, how the Nintendo executives dealt with Wii U is just deeply based.
Deeply.
But it also,
for those who didn't know, Nintendo slashed executive pay when the Wii U was a failure.
Pretty hard.
And they did not touch, to my knowledge, IC, individual contributor pay.
Yeah, trying to find this.
I forget the exact details, but basically Nintendo was hyper based about
when the
it.
Wii U, this is an AI overview thing, but this sounds accurate to my memory. No, I'm going to go find a source. Screw it. I don't care. I'm trying to be fast because it's on the show, but you guys are just going to have to wait.
Okay.
All right?
While you're waiting for him, it's funny.
50% layoff for the CEO and 20 to 30% layoffs for
pay cuts.
Other executives.
Not layoffs.
Sorry,
pay
yeah.
cuts.
Whoa.
Pay cuts.
50% layoff for
pay cuts.
Oh my God, why can't I say this properly? 50% pay cut for Satoru Iwata, and 20 to 30% reductions for other executives.
Yeah, super based.
That being said, you said 30% rev down. I don't think that would solve.
Well, no, it wouldn't. Because
even if we did that,
well, no, that's why I said 30% revenue down, we would have to take a 10% pay cut because I'm assuming that we will absorb some of it.
Oh yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is we can't absorb all of it. So the choice is
at 30% rev down. I don't think we could, even if we wanted to. It's what I'm trying to.
Oh yeah, no, we couldn't.
That's what I'm trying to communicate.
Like it's not viable.
We could, for honor's sake, pull the, and probably would, I suspect in this case, pull the Nintendo move, but that would not pull us out of. We're still screwed.
Yeah, so we would still have to do
like you
something.
Said, war chest, blah, 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 blah. But a 30% reduction in rev is not something a lot of companies can just like take on the chin and keep going. This is like
catastrophic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you now, Linus Media Group Incorporated, Floatplane Inc., Creator Warehouse Inc. do not have 30% net profit.
Yeah.
So,
which is fine. But a fact nonetheless.
But it is a fact. And so if it came to that, there is no, well, Linus should just make less outcome that is going to be acceptable.
Doesn't resolve the problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, and look, if you could just say, hey, look, I hope I never have to make this choice, and I'm not going to force you to answer the question.
No,
but
I think
my point was just that it's hard. It's not black and white. That was the point. But if you think you have an answer, I'm interested.
It's tough, but I would talk to my teams. I would just be super real about the situation that we're in. And I think what I would do is, I don't know, describe the situation, describe the problem that we're in, and maybe even end up, I would enthusiastically talk about the fact that we really don't want to do things like gambling sponsorships, that it goes against the standards that we've set for ourselves, yada, 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 yada. But that there is no way that we have been able to find out of this scenario. Because again, we're in the confines of this thought experiment.
Yeah.
There is no other route. Because we're not saying this is technical reality. We're saying this is the confines of the thought experiment.
Yeah.
The confines of the thought experiment is the only path out is either layoffs or ad sales. This is not a reality.
We've eliminated every other option.
This is not a reality situation. So I would talk to the people, discuss potential solutions that we don't want to do the ad thing, but if everyone is like hyper desperate and they're like, look, there literally are no jobs, I will be homeless if this doesn't happen, then we discuss as a team what that means.
Which
for what
in the
we're
current
projecting.
job market is
might be decently realistic.
Could be realistic, and
people are talking across the board pay reductions.
Oh, okay. So that's one of those things that's a great idea until it happens to you.
Yeah.
So we discovered something many, many years ago when we pretty much mostly...
Let me interject real quick. If the whole group came to that conclusion...
That's one thing.
That is one thing.
They won't.
And that would be with leaders taking a higher pay cut, etc.
They won't.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily would.
We discovered years ago that running sweepstakes, instead of creating one winner, creates a million losers. And it generates more negativity than any positivity out of it could possibly have been generated. And in the same way that if we were to cut 10% of the workforce, we'd be creating 10% low morale, all people who don't work here anymore. And if we cut the entire workforce by 10%, we'd be generating the entire workforce low morale.
Yeah.
And they would all still work here.
I think there is technically a way out with the entire workforce reduction thing. If the whole team, the entire team, rallies behind it and is like, okay, we will restore this if we get to whatever state, blah, 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 then cool. I think that's extremely tough. It's
not going to happen. I mean, already Scrappy DP is taking a stance that would be incompatible with us crawling our way out of this hole. You'll get 10% less work.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there are specific teams that could do this, that could rally behind this banner, and there are certain teams that would be unable to. I don't know where we're at. That's not even part of this conversation. It doesn't really matter. I can imagine companies, though. I can imagine states of different companies, too, where they would have been in a spot where that would be totally fine. But I can also imagine companies where people would be like, well, I mean, I'd rather leave. And then it's like, okay, cool. And then you kind of pivot to a position where it's like, all right, if we know we have to do this layoff thing, let's do this as like a team. And instead of just like blindsiding people, let's try to work with you, try to help you find positions. You can work here until this time. Let's work with you full time until then to try to help you get a spot, things like that. There are ways out to try to lessen the blow in this specific scenario where there is no other way out. You're not doing it because of individual performance, blah, 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 blah.
Crater says pay cuts plus company ownership percentage could maybe balance out part of the morale blow. Yeah, the issue is that
that's a fun tax
it just doesn't really work that way. Like it's people ultimately are most impacted by the things that most impact them directly. And that sounds like a kind of stupid, unnecessary thing for me to have to say, but it's the truth. At the end of the day, a whole bunch of people being miserable all at the same time, in theory, misery loves company and all of that, but it doesn't actually make, when we say misery loves company, we don't say that it like makes them happier that everyone's miserable. It just is something to talk about, and it can create a death spiral.
I was going to say, I always interpreted that statement differently.
Yeah.
I thought misery loves company is because people who are miserable will like radiate misery around them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And I don't think we need to go like too much further into this. We're not.
The Mighty Reptar said people are able to be so idealistic when they can just type in chat. Yeah, it's tough. I'm trying to like actually think about actually being in this scenario. And, emotions are going to end up getting really, really high. People are going to end up getting really, really mad.
Yeah,
pointing fingers is going to happen almost immediately.
And here's the thing, like remember the emotional response last week when I was talking about the perspective adjustment on RAM pricing? At the end of the day, most of the things we buy in a given year are not RAM and don't have RAM in them.
Yeah.
But this was something that, especially if, let's say, because it's all about like me right now, how does this impact me? For most people, and that's human. I'm not blaming anybody for that. But if you are the person who has been saving up for 2 years to finally buy a gaming PC or a Steam Deck or whatever it is, and you've had it yanked away from you, it's like, grand scheme of things, most things only have RAM as part of their cost. So even if RAM goes up double or triple, that didn't double or triple the overall price of the thing. Like on numbers, on a spreadsheet, in a live chat, it's not that impact for that person. It's the difference between they can buy that thing that they've been dreaming of for 2 years and now they cannot. And for some people, a 10% pay cut could be the difference between surviving and not. And so it's easy to say, like, the team should just all agree on a 10% pay cut to weather the storm and not take, gambling ads or whatever. But I wouldn't even, it's not like I wouldn't understand that one person who goes, I cannot do that.
Yeah, totally reasonable. But Leah K in Floatplane Chat said a while back, my company offered a voluntary 5% pay cut as an alternative to redundancy layoffs, and it worked. And then there's other people in here saying that morale at their company has been ruined because of a layoff that happened due to decreased revenue. Like this is a no actual good answer scenario. There are a lot of those scenarios in life. And realistically, someone is going to be like possibly full on crash out level livid about any answer that you come up with.
Yep.
And you just have to try to work with people to do the best thing you can.
Yep.
And that, Scrappy DP said, it will depend on the organization. Totally
100%.
true. It's going to depend on the group of people. It's going to depend on how that group of people can band together to move past this. It's going to depend on if that group of people even wants to. That might be the core problem in the first place, if we're being completely honest. There's so many variables, so many different things, and it's a no-win scenario. It's a hopefully reduced loss scenario.
Animaxtra says, are you saying a 10% pay cut could bankrupt your employees? I don't know, possibly. I don't manage their finances.
If you look up...
No matter how much money you're making,
This is exactly what I'm going to say. If you look up income and how much people are living paycheck to paycheck, it almost doesn't matter. People's expenses often will just track their income.
So at the time we bought this office, I think our revenues were over $1 million a year, right?
Okay.
But just because we had that much revenue, if we had had a significant reduction in our revenue, and we were still bringing in $700,000 a year or whatever, that's still a lot of money. But yeah, that could have forced us into bankruptcy because we had so many bills.
Dude, Darimp said, I'd happily take a 20% cut to go down to a 4-day work week. One of the problems with this scenario is...
How are we going to fight our way back to competitiveness? You got to be kidding me.
That doesn't work. At that point, they might as well just lay off.
Yeah, and so like Buddy, who's like, you're going to get 10% less work. It's like, okay, great. So now we're fucked then, because we're already struggling to compete. Because at the end of the day, it is competition, right? Like I do genuinely believe that, my fellow tech YouTubers, I don't see them as like bitter rival competitors, because I do think that a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, the much bigger picture,
your ship has to be floating to go up with the tide.
Your eyeballs have a limited amount of stuff they can look at every day.
Yeah.
So we do compete with the Super Bowl. We compete with that, romantic novel that is waiting on your Kindle.
Oh my!
We do.
Quivering.
We compete with your family. We compete with functionally every single thing that you do, for you wanting to, hang with us on a Friday and do WAN show instead of Boxing Day shopping or doing whatever else it is that you might want to be doing today, right?
Yeah.
And so if we are failing to meet target and failing to meet payroll, people, cutting their output by 10% sure as isn't going to fix it. Like, very unlikely. We could probably find some efficiency gains.
In this case as well, if this person doesn't have any ownership stake and just doesn't really care about the company they're at or whatever.
Then I get it.
Totally fair.
Yeah, get it. But
we're not trying to say it's necessarily unreasonable, but it's also not going to right the ship.
Nope, won't do that.
And these are uncomfortable conversations because there's no win, right? And much like the where's your line with piracy conversation that we had earlier, everyone's going to have a different line of what's okay here. That person's line was, don't reduce my pay ever in any circumstance ever. I will go somewhere else or reduce my output, and that's fine. And someone else is going to have a different line. And if your team has a wild variety of different lines,
which they will,
this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a guarantee that they will. I think there are teams out there, usually smaller teams, but I think there are teams out there that are
that's the one
that are somewhat in line with how they think and approach things.